Hello folk, welcome to Street Jam. Today we are going to be comparing three legendary 28mm lenses, ranging from three very different prices. Well, the Yashica is what stands on my M42 mount Edixa camera in my office for whenever I want to have some nostalgic romance with my street photography, which I haven't done for years. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see a POV review of this camera. Well, the Yashica lens, being the cheapest lens of the bunch, can be found used only and will cost you $50. It is the oldest that was manufactured, but it still covers the whole sensor area, and there is no other lens around at this price point. Yashica. As you can see, there's a bit color shift in this lens. It's a bit more to magenta. These are all the Leicas and the EF lenses. There's just tiny bit of difference, but when you pass to the Yashica, it's all magenta and soft and mushy. Well, in the middle of the image we get some kind of definition, but not by far. And to the sides, as we go to the sides, it's soft and way mushier than any other lenses that we try today. As we stop it down to the 5.6, we get a bit more sharpness in the middle, but I wouldn't call it sharp. And to the sides, it's still pretty soft. F8. But at F8, we get an okay performance in the middle, sharpness wise, but contrast is improved by a big margin. And we get a bit more definition on the sides too. It's not so soft and mushy as it used to be. But the color fringing thing, the purple cast over the picture, is never gone. At F11, damn, it just got sharp. And even on the corners, this is almost as good as like the F11 of the Leica and the EF. Not to the extreme corners, but to the sides, we still get good performance. At F16, this is F16, and we get corner to corner, pretty good sharpness, and even the middle is pretty good. So this like $50 worth of lens is a pretty good performer at F16. That's kind of amazing. Like what you can get with a GFX body on this lens. It's like full sensor coverage area, and there is not much of pincushion or barrel distortion. Maybe a little bit barrel distortion. I can see it like swallowing in the middle, but it's negligible. And yeah, so this is a good performer for the price. No wonder why I got this lens for my GFX body as my first lens. I mean, okay, well, I'll just cut it here. And our second player is the Canon EF 28mm 1.8, and this one is the only one that has autofocus, and it works pretty good with the latest GFX 100S. It will cost you 10 times more, and about $500. That is if you can find it used. I couldn't find it for new or used at the time of the making of this video. Now to the Canon EF 28mm 1.8. At f1.8, surprisingly, we get more corner sharpness, or I would call this sharp, but we can see what's written. It's not mushy like the Leicas 2.8, wide open. So this is a better performer, I would say, overall. But yeah, as we see this a straight line on the wall, it's bent. Well, it's not actually bent over here. Lines are kept straight because this very extreme sides of the lens wasn't actually made to show over the picture with the Canon full frame sensors. So we have this pincushion like distortion, not really a barrel distortion like you would have with many other wide-angle lenses, but the pincushion, and that's to keep the lines straight with the wide-angle lens, I think. At 2.8 we get a bit more sharpness to the sides, and just the extreme corners are kind of soft. At f4 we get pretty good sharpness over the corners, and the middles of the image is pretty contrasty. And as you can see, there's not much color shift to the lens. I mean, from Leica to the EF, so I could say they are not so different quality-wise, other than this bending effect here. With the Leica you don't get this. And f8 we get almost as perfect of an image as the Leica, but just consider that this lens is way bigger than the Leica and way heavier than the Leica, especially used with the adapter to GFX bodies. f11 is again as perfect as the Leica. f16, you can see we can say there's a bit more softness to the corners, and in the middles it's not sharper either, so even at the f11 we get some diffraction softness. f16 should be worse, and yeah, I can kinda, yeah, we can say it's way softer. I mean, compared to the f11, it's touch. There you go. This is 11, and this is 16, and that's 22. Well, it's not too bad, but we get a bit softer image. The third one is the Leica Elmerit 28mm f2.8. This one will cost you a whopping almost $3,000 neo. If you are looking for a second hand, as I did, you can find it for 2K or a bit less for used. So let's see the differences and if the price tag of this lens is accurate for the value. Alright, so this is the Leica Elmerit 2.8, and as we can see, it is pretty sharp in the middle. I think you can. This is a Turkish Communist Party. Well, I am not suggesting any political views here, it's just a sharpness test. But on the sides, it's not sharp at all, but in the middle we have great sharpness, as you can see. Every pixel there is sharp. At 2.8, we gain a bit more contrast in the middle, and to the sides we get a little bit definition. f4, we get further definition on the corners, and the middle sharpness is not really improved, but maybe a little bit. The extreme corners are still soft. At f8 we get great definition on this. We can say it's pretty sharp, but it's just lacking the contrast on the corners, whilst in the middles it's pretty darn sharp. I would say clinically sharp. f11 is even sharper corners, and we kind of get more contrast introduced. It's contrasty and sharp, almost perfect at f11. But f8 was like doing the trick too. And f16, as you can see, it's pretty dark sharp from corner to corner. In the middle there's no really diffraction marks. Yeah, maybe a little bit softer, but it just makes it more natural. Yeah, right. Now I will start with this lens and want to show you how little it sets on the camera, how street friendly it is. Combined with the GFX's very quiet shutter, this is a dream setup for me. This comes equivalent to 22.7mm in full frame terms.
Aleykümselam. Oynayacaksan sırayı geçmen lazım.
Tamam abi. Kaybeden ben de abi.
But because you have over large 100 megapixels on the sensor, you can really crop down to 10 times and still get decent amount of pixels. Not that I am suggesting you to be lazy, but sometimes it just is that moment that you want to get. And you can get it even with a super wide angle lens and crop it 2 times. Easy. As long as your lens supports to get that much sharpness. Anyway, being the smallest and the lightest of the bunch and having the focus tab underneath, it is the easiest to use for everyday street photography. Yashica. This is the cheapest lens. But if you have no budget for other lenses, I think this lens is a pretty good option too for the GFX system. This lens gets a full sensor coverage and a decent image quality after stopping it down to the f8, if you remember from the sharpness test and above. But since I have the other 28mm in my arsenal, I think I will have this one resting on my Edixa 35mm and 42 film camera rest of its life. Changing to Canon EF 28mm f1.8. This lens is the biggest and the heaviest of the bunch, but on the sizable GFX body and especially the deep grip of the GFX 100S makes it okay to hold, but still I wouldn't want to lift up this setup all day long up to my eye level, which I did for the last 5 years with the GFX 50R, which had a body that didn't have such a good grip. So it isn't much worse than a 50mm 1.4 lens if you ever used one of those in the size comparison. But every bit of weight helps you to take those extra steps in street photography. In conclusion, if you really rely on autofocus for your photography and need a better low light capable lens, go for the EF setup and you won't look back. But if you are, like me, in favor of the zone focusing and size matters a great deal, then the answer is plain and simple. Leica 28mm L-mount aspect is truly a legendary lens that has proven its existence by all the measures and also in this test, as with many masters of photography that came before me. Thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget to thumbs up and like the video and comment on whatever you like, because those help me to go up in the algorithm. And Yeah, subscribe and turn the bell on too. I know I'm asking for too much. At least do one of those. Thanks. Goodbye.